Photographers are like silkworms. They produce some nice things at times, but they do so under the enslavement of the Chinese government. They're often fed subpar diets, and at the end of their lives, they're burned, if not boiled alive. It doesn't mean if 5 of them came to me for help, I'd refuse.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So we shall answer 5 desperate loser photographers today, and I do have a purchase announcement that I will switch to for the next loser. The first one doesn't deserve it. Right now we're on the Blackmagic OG. Ow, my shoulder popped. With the Leica 25mm at 1.8 instead of 1.4. Just to stop around down there. Maybe I'm sharp, maybe I'm not. 1080p, 2 megapixels. Was that your question? Did you ever get your hands on a Zcam camera like the E2 M4? I debated once. I saw a really good deal on one a long time ago. I was like, you know what? It does 4K 150p, 160. That's decent. That's leading the industry. You're beating my Sony A7S III. You do nothing else though. It's like HD 240. Here's the deal with Zcam. They shoot RAW, they're a cinema cam, but it's Z-RAW or something, and it doesn't work in anything, so you have to transcode it. It's such a dumb thing, like, what are you doing? And then, oh, it does ProRes RAW. Can't use that in a DaVinci. Freaking DaVinci. The reality is that I've never tried it, so like, I'm making fun of it here. It could be amazing, but like, in my mind, it's a fringe company that nobody, like, what's the color science of a Z? Is it good? I don't know. It's probably not. And there's so many things, like, okay, not only do you have to transcode the RAW, if not, you're stuck with like H.265 normal stuff. Is it even 9 bits? I doubt it. 2.4 aspect ratio to 1. That's how you say that. If you want 4K 160p, it ends up being this letterbox thing. I could make it work. But like your Micro Four Thirds, you have nothing slower than HD 240. Like, if we're being honest, Sony A7S III destroys this thing in every way possible. What are you even doing? It's a little box, you gotta rig it out, you have no monitor. It's like, okay, I'll put a huge battery, big monitor, all this stuff for a Zcam look. Like, what even is that? And if you look through their lineup, that one you mentioned, the E2 M4, that's their best one for slow-mo. They have like 6K and 8K and full frame, and nothing gets better than that bullshit E2 M4 for slow-mo. It's like nothing beats it, so it's like you have nothing to look forward to. See fast cards? Are you kidding yourself? No, I'm not getting it. Okay, enough of your bullshit. We're moving on so hard from you. We have a purchase announcement. First, the story of how this came into my life, and then we switch to it. So I'm watching an angry photographer video. It just, YouTube recommends me, hey, these are my top 8 lenses ever made. I trust his opinion very much. He and I know. We see the 3D magnet pop. We know how life works. And so it's like, okay, what are your best lenses? And he mentions a couple, and a lot of them are for Nikon F-mount. And I'm here thinking, you know, I love this Blackmagic, but like, I'm pretty happy with this Leica lens. Could you even beat it? Probably not. But I've been trying to sell this speed booster for 20 years. Somebody gave this to me. Nikon designed for this camera, so it's a 0.58 times speed booster to Nikon lens mount. And I'm like, why don't I just buy one of these amazing vintage lenses? And now, instead of a 3 times crop factor, we got 1.75 times. We're in between Micro Four Thirds and APS-C now with a Voigtlander 58mm 1.4. How? Let us now switch. Voigtlander 58mm 1.4 Nikon F-mount vintage touch. One element, I think. The most 3D pop potential. It's almost full frame Blackmagic camera with a 2 megapixel sensor. It's too exciting to even think about. My God. Does it compare to Leica Boy? Is it now like, Oh, wow. It's even sharper and a full frame look to it. And you've outdone yourself. I spent too much on it. There was a cheaper one, and I went for this newer version because it had a cooler looking manual focus thing. And then like custom fees, it was 615 Canadian dollars. It's a bunch of bullshit, but pretty cheap. Not bad. What is the one lens I need to get when I buy my first Sony a7S III? I don't want 10 diff lens. So which one should I put a period after every word to vlog with? Any help? Pretty much, like, you want to just be done with the whole thing. Sony 20mm 1.8. You can't go wrong with it. It's light, it autofocuses well, the stabe will behave. You can use active stabe and there's nothing weird with the image, whereas the superior 18mm Zeiss Batis that I have, it's a little shakier for no reason, other than Sony hates Zeiss for some reason. Apparently, a Zeiss president slept with one of Sony's pet rats. And the rat preferred the Zeiss guy, left in his pocket, and here we are. Sony's replacing all the Zeiss lenses, and they hate each other, whereas they used to be partners. So like, I would say spring for the Zeiss Batis, but really Sony 20mm is gonna have your back better. Or the 16-35 24 Sony Zoom. It's quite light for what it is. I think it's even lighter than the 20mm somehow. You could go for that, or be a real snob and get the Zeiss 16-35. It's older, 24, but it has stabe in it. Don't quote me on if it actually works together with the IBIS, but Zeiss, pop. You could cheap out and get like a little Samyang 18mm or a Tamron something, but the Sony 20mm is agreed upon. It's pretty much the best lens. You can't go wrong with it. I went wrong with it and I upgraded to the Zeiss 18mm, and I'm happier with it, even though it's a little shaky. But if you use Catalyst Browse, then it's super good. I don't understand why with active stabe, nah. Could the Blackmagic Micro Studio Cam 4K G2 be the best choice for talking head or even vlogging, given it's compact? Didn't I give you a thrashing already? I swear I already answered this, but you asked it in a slightly different way and you bypassed my brain. I hate when people leave multiple comments all over in different areas. Oh, here, I'll email it, I'll leave a comment under his pinned comment, then I'll make my own comment, then I'll comment on another video, and maybe I'll put it on his Instagram. You should be arrested. Perfect. Like, in what world is it the ideal talking head thing when there's no screen on it, there's no autofocus, there's no IBIS if you want to vlog with your little micro studio cam? I vlog in here sometimes. Like, no, it's not the best anything. Would it even look better than this? Nothing good. Nothing good. Also, how would it compete with a Nikon ZF? It would die in its arms. Nikon would be holding it saying, oh, I'm sorry, little buddy, you're cute. You do RAW. Don't worry about it. 12-bit RAW. People will remember you for that. But I'm here now. I got it. I'm Nikon Color Science. 10-bit. Full frame, though. See? That's why. Of course not the best for talking. It's one of the worst options. For convenience, one of the worst. Is it even better than this? No. Is it better than any Nikon anything? No. Canon? No. Sony even? Wow. Fuji, you could get by with an XE2. And I would be like, you know what? I prefer the Fuji. Think of this setup for a second. Canon R7. Okay, you already suck. No matter what follows in this sentence, you've lost any competition you could have possibly entered. You started with the worst camera with EF 300mm 24 IS. Affordable, lightweight. Is it? 3D pop? Potentially. Eye animal tracking combo of the gods? You think the gods would release something like this? And you're like, wow, look at this wheel. It's a nipple on the back. The R7 is an afterthought in every theory. It's English. On paper, I understand that you're thinking, oh, a 300mm prime, it's an amazing lens, it takes sharp photos. But now my modern mirrorless will crop on it, giving me like a 450-ish. Wow, this is the best vlogging wildlife setup. Here's the reality that's gonna hit you hard. The image stabilization of EF lenses suck, and they do not sync so it's going to be super shaky crap. And then you're in an R7, which is crippled in so many different ways. The hammer wasn't even... It's a Q&A show. These are supposed to just come out often. I don't have to edit anything. You're bullshit, man. It's an okay camera. R7. You got the wheel on the back. It's kind of cool. 4K 60, not bad. HD 120 is your slowest. Ow. My eye's already injured from my diet. So imagine the R7 with that combo. I'd rather not. I'd rather be able to sleep at night. One of the dumbest combos. If you tried it, I guarantee you, just the worst stabe ever. This is left brain thoughts. You're like, oh, this could work. It won't work. You should work for less money. Against my better judgment, I have stopped down the lens fully, and now we're wide open, and it's not known to be very sharp. Wide open, apparently. So here we are at 1.4. No longer in focus. It could be dreamy. Is the Canon 5D Mark IV still a viable option? I see people using it like a mirrorless with a touchscreen. Just because you see people doing anything. Every day I walk by a McDonald's, I see people inside eating it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Gluten? Factory farmed, jab injected beef? Frickin' MSG? Too much salt? And the wrong kind of salt. The salt that they add glass to. So it's like, just because someone's doing it doesn't mean you should do it. No. It's a dumb camera. It's on... The EOS R is a better camera, much cheaper. It's the same thing, basically. And the R8 is even better than that, and much cheaper. I don't see what you would ever gain. You have like a DSLR mount. The only fun thing is that you could put the EF lenses right on it without an adapter, and that's kind of cool. You get some L glass. I partly want a 6D Mark II just for that reason. Put on my 24mm 1.4 or the 85 1.2 with 6D color science. That was top notch. Canon's taken a step back, and it hurts. Don't get me wrong, it would be a fantastic camera. You would get great images and video, super sharp, but it's still the same 1.745 times crop in 4K, and you have no flippy screen. It doesn't even tilt up, and it's huge and heavy. So it's like, no, you would go for an EOS R, and even that is pretty much irrelevant in today's world. So the R8, you just have to live with the tiny battery, and it does suck. I was making a vlog today on it, and the battery died midway. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I always charge this thing in studio with my V-mount. Then you take it one time on the road, and it's dead in your arms. I don't know why I tried to vlog with the 24mm 1.4. I just wanted to see what that looked like. It did look magical, but there were people waving in the background, and you couldn't even see them. This is a bullshit option, but Canon's decent. But R8 is your sweet spot of the whole system. You deal with the battery life and you move on. What you don't move on from is this lens being fantastic. One of my eyelashes could be partially in focus, and I think that makes this shot pretty cinematic, if I must say so myself. Voigtlander cannot be beaten. Thank you, Angry Photographer, for the recommendation. I almost went with his Zeiss 35mm Tony 2, but I couldn't find a good deal. This was actually much cheaper. That lens is on my radar, though. Just saying, so. Huh? Good purchase? Yeah. I forgot not to move. Okay. What should I buy next? You let me know down below. How you doing? You subscribing for more videos? I'll see you next.